All right, good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. I forgot what. Oh, it's the 6th of June. Golly, that's a very special day for me. Um, I had a boyfriend years ago, and it was his birthday. And he was lovely. So I'm going to say happy birthday to John. I don't think he's listening, but just for me anyway. Uh, it is June. It's an amazing, amazing month. I always think of June as being that sort of, okay, everybody's shedding clothes, everybody's getting ready for the warm up, everybody's getting ready for summer. Of course, I'm in Florida, so I get summer all year long. And it makes me smile when people often say to me, "Oh gosh, you live in Florida and it is too hot. How can you stand the heat?" And so on and so forth. But I'm on the West Coast, which means we get the breezes, we get the ocean breezes. Yes, it gets a little hot from time to time. I just come inside and put the air conditioning on, and it's great. But the idea of waking up to sun every single morning is just fantastic. And I went with a friend a few days ago, and we went for a ride, and we went to what we call here it's known as the jetties. We went to the jetties where you can see the ocean on the one side and you can see the inner waterways on the other side, and it's great because you can see the sailboats. If it's really breezy, which it was when we were there, you could see the parasailing or whatever it is they call it. Those big, sort of big things with guys on a little. I was going to say skateboard, but you know what I mean, parasailing. So there were people parasailing. There were also people scuba diving, and um, it was amazing. It was, believe it or not, it was far too windy to sit outside without being blown away. We opened up all the car windows, and we took. I actually, my friend had done it the week before. I made salmon and new potatoes and a bean salad, which I really love to make, or it might have been coleslaw, I can't remember, but anyway, one or the other. And we sat and ate that sitting by the ocean. And I called my grandson, FaceTime my grandson, so he could see the parasailing, he could see the people parasailing. And he thought that was really cool. So for all of you who are saying, "Oh God, Florida, oh no, it's too hot," well, actually, no. Um, every day I say, "I'm so pleased I'm living here. The flowers are blooming," and so now I'm going to shut up because I know that some of you are thinking, "How could she do this to us?" Anyway, what have I been doing this week, and what are we going to be talking about today? Um, well, oh yes, that reminds me. I've been cutting my hair this morning because it was getting a bit long, so I just trim it a bit. But I've had so many people say to me recently, and it's really funny. It makes me laugh. "Oh, where'd you get your hair done?" Because they like. I don't know if you can see it on screen, but there's this silver streak that goes right across here. Look, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that, Chris? That
Yeah.
silver streak there, and they want to know, how who does that for me, and so on. And I have to tell you, it's all natural, and all of this other dark stuff is natural. So the only bit of grey I really have is this great silver streak that looks as if somebody's painted it on. So, you know, every so often I think maybe I should dye my hair, maybe I should. But once you start dyeing your hair, then you've got to keep dyeing your hair. And I don't really. The only reason I would dye my hair is to get rid of the silver streak, but I think it looks quite, it looks like I've been to the hairdresser and the hairdresser did it for me. I'm one of those people who just isn't going grey, except for that bit. And I've no idea why, and I've got no grey at the back and no grey here. So, just for all of you out there, and if my friend Kay in England is watching, for all of you out there who've been dyeing your hair since you were 30 something years old, Kay, I remember driving in a car with her once. Oh gosh, we're going back years and years and years. And she's 9 years younger than I am. And in those days, I didn't even have one tiny silver grey hair, nothing. And her head was full of grey, and she was having to dye it. I think by the time she was about 35 or something, she was having to dye her hair. And one day we're in the car and the sun was shining. And when the sun shines on my hair, it's sort of, it's like a reddish brown, a lot of red in my hair. She got so mad with me. Just how come you're older than me and you don't have one single grey hair? And here I am, so much older, just with this very fancy, I think it looks designerish. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. But I was cutting my hair this morning because, I tend to do that sometimes. My daughter will be furious with me because she is my hairdresser. But sometimes it gets a bit long, so I have to trim it off. So that's what I've been doing this morning. Aside from making the bed, filling the dishwasher, all those things that I think a lot of people think I don't do those things. Maybe you all think I have somebody to do it all for me, but no. Anyway, I'm rabbiting on here. So we are not going to. It's very strange. Usually when I send the newsletter out, we have lots and lots of comments of one sort or another. My newsletter this month has received one comment, which was, wow, that was powerful, Rosemary. But there has been silence in the ranks. So if anybody wants me to ask you can ask me any questions you like about the newsletter, about anything at all, about whatever I'm thinking and feeling, you can do that today, because I'm happy to answer any questions and any uncertainties that you may have. But I also do think, and I would just like to mention this before I sort of we'll have an open forum. I do think it's important, and as I said in the newsletter, kindness, where did it go? Where did it go? Gentleness, I don't know what happened to it. I think it's there. Unfortunately, the voices that are mean, the voices that are rude, the voices that are bullying. My friend Karen in Toronto had an awful experience with bullying at the weekend. Somebody, I won't tell you the story, it's too long a story to tell, but she had an awful situation with bullying, and good for her, she stood up to the bully. Having said that, it's really quite dangerous, isn't it? We're all worried about standing up to bullies. And this guy was a lot bigger than she and could have easily, done something awful. It's difficult to know when to stand up against the bullies, but there's so much. I don't know if it's because people are so disappointed in what's happening with the world today. I think people are so disappointed with the politicians and the lies and the cheating and so on. And I think it's just it's up to those of us who know better to, even if you don't like someone, even if you really, really dislike someone, there's no excuse for meanness. There is no excuse for bad behavior. There is no excuse to cheer when someone is put down. There's no excuse whatsoever, because when you do those things, you're bullying. You're being a bully, and there's no excuse for it. If someone you don't like is put down and put in their place, yes, it's good to see it. If that's what you feel is happening, it's good to see it. But let's not revel in other people's misfortunes. Let's not revel in other people's despair or destruction, because it seems to me that so many people are reveling and enjoying seeing someone being put down. And today you might think, yeah, you're reveling over seeing Trump put down. There, I've mentioned his name. But tomorrow, who else is it you're going to revel in misfortune, their misfortunes? It's unkind. It's not spiritual. It's a disgraceful attitude. And those of us who feel that way, which should be all of us, you don't applaud when someone is beaten down. You don't. You feel sad for them. You could feel pity for them. You could send a prayer for them. That's what we do. You don't revel in other people's misfortunes. If you are truly working on being a spiritual person and a kind person and a loving person, and it seems to me that the whole world is reveling at the moment, and it makes me very sad. It causes me great pain to see it. It makes me very sad. And you know, we have to remember our angels are watching us. They hear every word we say. They listen to us. God is watching us. God is watching over us. I think that they would. I remember saying to a group of people a long time ago, when our angels see this kind of behavior from us, they don't look in judgment at us. There's no judging here, but they look with sadness on, and I'm sure that they are looking on in sadness right now at the amount of reveling and joy and, you know, being thrilled that someone, no matter how much we may or may not dislike, that someone is being beaten and beaten down, and it's not something that we should be joyful of. It's something that we should wish didn't happen. It's something that we should be sad about, and it's something that we should send prayers for. That's what I think. But who cares what I think? Right, I'm going to open it up now, Chris. There you go. We have a subject to talk about.
All right, well, it would probably be good to start with Gary's comment then.
Yep.
Good morning, Rosemary. I have a healing book request. Please place this country in the healing book and pray for its recovery.
That's great, Gary. That's a really, thank you. And absolutely, I will place, you know, this country, not just this country, but it's, you know, it's something that's happening all around the world. You know, you go out onto the street, you're driving along, and you just see bullies on the road, and you see indifference on the road, and you see disrespect everywhere. And we have to start to stand up and make it better. If we don't stand up and say something, and we all should be doing that, if we don't stand up and say something, it's going to continue, and it's going to continue. I read something just this morning, and it was about Trump, and and it was then they are only coming for me because I am in the way of all of you. All of you is all of America. I think it's true. I actually think it's true. I'm not a lover of Trump. I don't, you know, I don't, I'm not a political person. I don't get involved, but I think that when so many people in power get together to distort the truth and to distort the law and to use the law to their will for their benefit, not for the benefit of the people of the country, but for their will. I just, I don't see anything to celebrate about. I'm sorry, but I just can't see anything to celebrate. And I think we should all stand up, whether you're for Trump, pro Trump, anti Trump, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever you know, whatever you think about the politicians, we should all stand up and say, hey, you know, enough of this nastiness, enough of this backbiting, enough of this ridicule, enough of this, you know, applauding that someone is being destroyed. Who are we as human beings if we are applauding, no matter how much we like or dislike someone? Who are we as human beings to be applauding someone's destruction? It's awful. It's sad. It breaks my heart. Okay, Chris.
Nomi says, Rosemary, your newsletter was great. I felt it hit home for me. I love that you addressing bullying and bringing forth attention to the gentleness and kindness we can all share. Thank you very much.
Thank
With
you.
your directness and forward thinking, I believe you are reopening many eyes and ears. And I love hearing about Florida, the flowers, the breeze, and the joy. It's really nice to hear.
Good. Well, thank you. I hope that I'm reopening eyes. I hope that I am. If you are a person who has been jumping up and down with joy at somebody's destruction, I hope that you are ashamed enough, because you should be ashamed enough to stop your behavior and to bring joy and gentleness and love into your heart, not hatred. Yeah, Chris.
All right. Judith says, Brava, Rosemary, brava. Hold on, it just scrolled. I totally agree with you. If I ever feel glad that someone got their comeuppance, I immediately feel badly for my thoughts. It's a quick lesson.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there are people who deserve to have consequences. You know, um, we're not discounting that people should have consequences, and sometimes those consequences are tough consequences. But who are we as human beings? Who are we as spiritual people to revel and to find joy and be exultant? And who are we as human beings to feel those things at someone else's destruction? We should be trying to lift people up, not put people down.
Right. The next is from Eric. Yes, it is so easy to be drawn into the masses of trends going on.
Eric, you know, it is easy, and of course, Facebook makes it easier. You know, the things that are written on Facebook, the meanness, the intolerance, the cruelty, the language that, you know, that is allowed on Facebook. You're supposed to be able to, you know, write into Facebook and say, you know, this is not right or whatever, and they're supposed to do something about it, but they don't. And I think that the country has become, it's like it's almost like a mob mentality. You know, years ago when they had hanging, you know, in the olden days, in the Western days, and not just in the West, everywhere, you know, you would have this one person would start, you know, to say something, and they'd get other people involved, and so on and so forth. And And you would find, it's called mob mentality, and it is there is such a thing. And you get this group of people who individually would never think to hang a person, would never think to destroy a person. Individually, they are good, nice people, but they somehow they get involved in this mob mentality, and they all get together, and the next thing you know, these good, kind, gentle people are behaving exactly as the people who are stirring them up. They are puppets for those people who are trying to stir things up. And I think that what we have here today is, we have those people who are stirring things up, trying to get things their way, making sure that things go their way. And so out it goes into the media, and out it goes into the world, and out it goes onto the Facebook, until we all start to gather together as a mob. And then the next thing you know, you're doing things, you're thinking things, you're saying things that individually you would never think to say. So we have to be very aware that we're in a society today that is a mob. It's like a mob, and we're following people just like sheep in a way. It's not that we can't think for ourselves, but we believe things. People believe everything that's written in the media, which is a nonsense, and people go along with it because, you know what, somehow it feeds them or it makes them feel better. Because if you put someone else down, if you destroy someone else, maybe that takes the attention off of you. So we have to try, if we can, to speak out and to stop this mob mentality, which is causing all of these problems in the world today. Chris.
All right, we have a question from Rosa.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to ask, when a child grows up on the other side, do they find their soulmates? I guess I am asking, do they find romantic love?
Gosh, that's one for Grey Eagle. So I'm asking, it goes beyond even that. If we wouldn't even begin to understand the answer, Rose, so you got to wait and see. Who knows? We shall have to see. I don't know, in other words. Chris.
Rhonda says, Rosemary, I just found out my cousin passed yesterday. Do
Oh,
you see her sweet face? Can you give her a spiritual hug from me?
oh gosh, I would love to give her a spiritual hug, but you know what? All of the hugging and the loving that you've been thinking of over these last, few hours that you've found out, she's receiving all of them and hearing from you much more than she will hear from me. It's a little. Grail tells me it's a little new for her yet. So although I'm totally sure that she's there and she's safe, I think it's up to you to keep giving her those spiritual hugs. But I'll join in with you and send my love to Chris.
Judith says, I absolutely must get your cookbook. My oven thermostat is out. Should I get a new stove or repair?
Okay. This is my feeling, is that once something starts to go, it goes. You can keep repairing it, and before you know it, you could have afforded a new appliance, whatever it is. That's my feeling. If it's a small repair, it's a little repair, and it's only the thermostat, well, that's easy to fix and not so expensive to fix. So the choice is yours. See, I would be thinking, do I want a new oven badly enough that I'm going to spend the money on getting a new oven? And I probably would go for the new oven. But just be careful that, it's like a car, isn't it? When the car starts to go, it's a little fix here and then it's another little fix there, because the car is old and it's pretty much it's sort of on its last legs. I don't know how old your oven is. Oh, maybe it's, according to Greg, or maybe it's time you got a new oven. Treat yourself. Okay, Chris.
She also added, the silver streak is gorgeous, and I have one too. I inherited mine from my mother.
Oh, I don't know where I inherited mine from. No idea. My father started going grey, but only slightly, in his 60s, and he died when he was 70. So that was that. But he had a lot of dark hair. Mine is totally dark everywhere except here, and there might be a few odd bits here and here, but I've no idea where I've inherited that from. Um, there's a saying. I don't know if any of you have heard of there's a group of people, and I forget which country they come from. If I suggest a country, I'm going to insult someone, but they call themselves the whirling dervishes, and they come from a certain culture, which I can't remember where now. Maybe somebody can let us know in a minute. And they uh, apparently they never ever go grey because their energy is such that they keep moving so fast, so fast, so fast. I don't know what the energy has to do with it. So maybe it's something to do with the energy that I'm using all the time, the spiritual energy that I'm using all the time that keeps my hair the way it is. But anyway, I don't know. So maybe I'm an offshoot of the whirling dervishes. Chris.
Barbara says, hello, Rosemary. I'm sending a heartfelt thank you for the amazing consultation this week. Your messages from my loved ones brought me peace, joy, and comfort. I am blessed to have found you and Gray Eagle.
Barbara, it was such a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for that. We're always, when people have consults with me, um, I had a fabulous letter from, I'm only going to mention first names, Janine and Tom. I had a wonderful letter from them, which I just replied to this morning, um, about their consultation, and it's really really great. But I think people don't understand the privilege is actually mine, Barbara, not yours, because you have opened the door, but you have allowed me to participate in your family, with your family, and connecting you with your loved ones and so on. But it would be great for all of you who've had a consultation with me, if you feel like sending us a testimonial, which we can put up on the website, because I think it's very helpful to people who are in doubt. Should I or shouldn't I? What should I do? And so on. And you might think it's a lot of money, but compared to, um, if it doesn't work, I don't charge you anyway. So you've got nothing to lose, really. But, I think that testimonials, and Barbara, your lovely comments this morning, thank you so much for those. I think it really helps other people who are on the edge. Should I do this, and what should I do, and so on. But if you go to someone you trust, and that's not always easy to do, but if you find a medium who you can trust, that medium will say to you, as I say to my clients every time, if this does not work, I will not charge you, even if I spend an hour with you. You're not paying me for your time, you're paying me for the content. And I also do say, which I think some people find surprising, if it does not work to my satisfaction, not the satisfaction of the client, if it does not work to my satisfaction. Because, and I say that because I am the voice of the spirit world. And if those in the spirit world feel that they didn't do a great job, or that I didn't do a great job, or for whatever reason it is or happens to be at that moment, then it's, the energy isn't right, or the vibration isn't right, or something. I mean, it rarely happens that it doesn't happen, but if that happens, then I will be the judge of the content of the consultation, and I am a much tougher judge. I expect far more than anyone, Barbara, as you know. I expect far more from a consultation than anyone who comes to me will expect. I think that people, when they come to me for a consultation, get way more than they ever thought they were going to get, way more than they ever expected. And this is because, as a spiritual medium, and I think I've said this to people before, when I'm connecting with someone in the spirit world, I'm not seeing images in my head. I don't, you never hear me say, oh, I feel this or I feel that, because no, that's not me. I'm not going to go there. What I'm expecting when I'm talking to people in the spirit world is I'm expecting them to come into my living room, as enough that I can see them and have a conversation with them. So as we're having a conversation, if I misunderstand what they say, I've either got them to tell me, no, that's not what I just said, or that's not what I meant, or I've got Grey Eagle who says to me, no, that's not what they meant. So I have to work really hard. But I'm having a two-way conversation. And I'm talking to them and I'm seeing them laughing. I'm seeing them sometimes crying. I'm seeing them excited. But my connection with the spirit world is such that, we are doing this together and they expect a lot from me. And this week, in fact, I did have someone in the spirit world who said to me, come on, come on, get on with it, buck up, to me. Which I laughed at, and I thought it was funny because he wanted more from me than I was understanding at that moment in time. So I had to really sort of, focus and concentrate and do what they wanted me to do, which is great because that's how this works for me. It does not work like that for most mediums. I've never met another medium who does it the way that I do it. I just do it this way because this is the way I've always done it, and it works. But the point is that if I'm saying something to my clients who have come to see me, I'm saying it because I'm being told it, not because I'm thinking it or imagining it or sort of have these feelings about it. That's not, I'm going to push those in the spirit world, which I do. I'm sometimes a bit mean to them. Come on, you can do better than this. Just go. But often it's, as with happened this time, there was someone who was a little bit nervous about doing it, a little bit nervous about doing it wrong, and I just had to just keep saying, just take your time. It's going to be okay. I'll give you as much time as you like. And eventually they started talking to me, and then I couldn't shut them up. Once they got over their nerves, then they wouldn't stop talking, which was great. So, Barbara, I'm so pleased that you enjoyed it. But believe me when I say it is my privilege to have done that for you. And thank you very much for allowing me to be part of your connection or reconnection with your loved ones. Okay, Chris, keep going.
All right. This next one's from Mark, who you just recently had an email from.
Yes.
As I said in my email, I'm trying to get any sign from my parents. I just want to know if they are okay. What can I specifically do to have a change in getting any signal from them?
Well, if you join us on Monday, this coming Monday morning, I think it is, we're going to have a healing session. But the healing session is not going to be as usual, because if you go on YouTube, you can find me showing you how to give healing to yourself and to others. You can see all of that. But what I thought on Monday is that I'm going to try, if I can, to talk you through how you can hear better. What can you do to make a more positive connection with those in the spirit world? So you might want to join us, Mark, on Monday. I think it's at, when is it? 10
11.
o'clock? 11 o'clock? I thought it was 10:30. Anyway, whatever it is, Chris will let you know. but I thought that we'd talk about how you can, in fact, connect in a stronger way, how you can learn to listen. Because when we try to connect with the spirit world, we talk about raising your level of consciousness. What does that mean? So I'm going to be talking about those things, which are very healing things. And you might find that interesting, Mark, and it might be very helpful to you because you hopefully will learn how to listen a little more closely. It's not that your parents aren't there with you. Trust me, they are. But, sometimes they're standing in front of us and we're saying, where are you? And we're here and we're not, but we don't know how to listen, or we don't know how to connect, or we're not sure what to do. So we're going to be talking more about that on Monday morning. Yes, I've got a hand up. I've got my friend Mary Lou here with me. She's got a hand up. Do you have a question?
Well, I wanted to make a comment. Could you mention about I was going to visit family and needed some support, and I saw that feather in the clouds?
Oh, yes. So Mary Lou's going through a tough time at the moment. You don't mind me saying that, right?
Oh, that's fine.
And so completely off the cuff, completely out of the blue, we were talking about something else, and and she said to me, well, this is what my dad would want. Well, and I said, really? And I'd already seen her dad. He was already standing in my living room, but I hadn't mentioned to her yet. And she said, well, I know that this is what my dad would want. Even though it's not necessarily what I want, I'm pretty sure that this is what my dad would want, and I want to do what my dad would want me to do. And then her Mary Lou's mother joined her father, and then they proceeded to tell Mary Lou that she was actually inaccurate in her thoughts. And I've spoken to Mary Lou's parents quite a lot, so I know them really well. And so we talked about what her father actually would want. So that's all very well and good. And I said to Mary Lou, just because your dad is saying this doesn't mean, and I always say this to people when we're talking to the spirit world, just because they're telling you get your hair cut, for instance, doesn't mean you have to do it. They're just making a suggestion, but you shouldn't allow them to rule your life, and you shouldn't allow them to tell you what to do. They're just simply making suggestions and trying to guide and steer and help you. So Mary Lou sort of went away, sort of wondering. I guess, I don't know if you were looking for a sign, but
I was driving.
But she was driving along the road, and right in front of the sky was blue. We're in Florida. The sky was blue, 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 blue. Not a cloud in the sky except this enormous cloud, long, very weird looking. She took a photo, and it was literally a giant size feather in the sky, that's Grey Eagle. He'll give you feathers whenever you need them. He always gives me feathers. It doesn't give you strength. Your signs and whatever it is your particular signs are, they don't give you strength. They remind you of the strength that you have within you. And she saw this feather, and she, of course, started to blubber. You know how that is. But she had presence of mind to take a photo, and wow, big feather in the sky. So why am I talking about that? But anyway, let's move on, because I've forgotten now the gist of my story. Move on, Chris.
Okay, the next one is from Ken. I am really hoping that I am making the right decision to close down one of my clinics in one town and open up in another town. So I think he's asking for your advice.
I hate doing this on the spur of the moment stuff. You might have wanted to consider a consultation before you actually made your decision. But Gregor has his hand on my shoulder, which means that he would like to say something to you. And I think that the decision is already made. So whether or not it's a good idea, it's too late to change your mind. But if I had more time with you, we could go into it more deeply. But let's just say this. Make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. Make sure that the people that you have coming to your clinic know how to get hold of you. Make yourself available. That doesn't mean go running around to try and find them, and it doesn't mean that necessarily, but make yourself available. And if you can't necessarily see them, or they're too far from you or something, make yourself available in another way. There's always Zoom. You can talk to people on Zoom. So that's one way of keeping yourself open to the people that you think you might be losing. But overall, I think it's a much better idea, because it's all about the energy. And I'm not sure that the energy in the old place, we'll call it the old place, I'm not sure that the energy in the old place is quite what you want. And I think it's all about energy. And I think you can make this new place into something that is very positive, more energized, and therefore better for everybody. That's as much as I can say to you. I hope that's going to help you. Chris.
All right, this next one is from Rose. Hello, dear Rosemary. My husband, Jeff, passed away a year ago. My heart is broken, and it would comfort me to hear something from him. Your books have given me so much strength. Thank you. Love and light from Holland.
Oh, I love that you're sending me love and light, because you know that that's what I send to people, right? When I sign my books with love and light. All right. So I'm asking Grey Eagle. Oh, I was actually going to tell you that I don't see anything or anyone, but I've got a pair of beautiful eyes, very lovely, twinkling, sparkling eyes. I think this is your husband here, who is, I think he has a great personality. And I think, what am I saying here? So the message is, I made it. I'm here. I'm well. That whatever that choking or whatever that sensation was that he had in his chest that's all gone. And please don't worry. And he's with you. I hope you understand that bit. Anyway, and that he's with you. I don't normally do this so quickly, so fast, but here he is joining in. He must have been waiting for you. He must have known you were going to call in and ask that question. Okay, Chris.
Michelino is the next person.
Right, I love that name.
Hello, Rosemary. For some time now, I have been planning to renovate a house that I own. I have some doubts. Do you have any advice for me? And thank you so much.
I do, actually, right off the bat here. Well, it definitely needs renovating. My only suggestion to you is be very, very cautious about who you get to help you. With renovations, you never know what you're going to find underneath all of the stuff that you're going to sort of take out and so on. I think it will be worth it in the end. You can make it a really expensive project. If you're not careful, that is what it will be. But if you are careful and you hold the workmen to their quotes, and you keep an eye on them, you can't just let someone else be in charge. You have got to be the one in charge. You've got to be the one paying attention. I think it will be worth it in the end, but it can be a very reasonable project if you're paying attention. I mean, every day. Don't let the workmen do anything. When I had renovations to my house in Vermont, they used to call me the the renovators, the workmen, so on, they used to call me Hawkeyes because I would watch everything and I would put right the things that they were not doing properly, because they do. And if you're not watching, they'll do things hastily or quickly. Not everyone has a great work ethic, so pay attention. I think if you do it, it will be worth it, but do it sensibly. Be a Hawkeyes. Chris.
Wayne is asking, well, it's so nice to watch your show on Thursdays. I have a question for Gray Eagle. Do
Well,
gay people go to heaven?
sorry, I just wanted to say hi to Wayne. Sorry, Chris. What was the question?
Do gay people go to heaven?
Wayne. Those people who have love in their hearts, those people who, even though we can be really bad, those people who want to be good or have moments of goodness, those people who have even only a little light in them, of course, when we pass into the spirit world, we are seen. I mean, it's like we see ourselves. It's almost like the worst transparency, because we see all the awful things about us and all the good things about us. And that's for everyone, not gay people, not, whatever. And I have this wonderful, wonderful story many years ago. It was, I was in a group of people had come to see me, and one of them was a New York policeman, a tough cop sort of thing, and he was tough. And he had a son who was dying of AIDS, and I told him after I'd spoken to the group, if ever his son wanted to talk to me, that would be fine, because his son, being gay, was terrified. He was Catholic, which made it worse. He was terrified he was going to go to the devil, and that was it, because he'd done these awful things and so on. And I can remember it was a Saturday afternoon, and I remember sitting with him, talking to him. We were on the phone, but he unburdened his fears to me, and my heart broke for this kid. Of course, of course, of course. There is no, unless you're an evil person, which I don't think, I think there's so few truly evil people, truly dark souls. Of course you have the opportunity to go to heaven. It doesn't matter whether you're gay, it doesn't matter whether you're black, it doesn't matter whether you're yellow, it doesn't matter whether you've got 3 heads or 5, it doesn't matter who you are. You are a soul brought to this earth. You are part of this earth soul cluster. Of course, my darling. Nobody is barred. Anyone who wants to be there gets the opportunity and goes there. God is a loving God. In the Old Testament, you read about God being the slayer of all, and the judge and the jury and so on. And if you read the Old Testament, you get quite terrified. And you read the New Testament, and you read about Christ, and you read about love, and you read about joy, and that is the God that I know, the one that embraces all, no matter how horrible you've been, no matter how bad you've been. If you have a speck of light in you, then God embraces you. So thank you for that question. It's a very valid question. One day I'm going to publish my book, Grey Eagle Speaks, and it's an amazing book. It's full of Grey Eagle's words of wisdom, lots of questions, believe it or not, some about politics, some about race, some about how we find people, different. The Native Americans used to celebrate the differences in their people. They would celebrate and find these people special. And that's exactly what we should do. It comes back to what I was saying before. We don't put people down. If we're good and we're kind, we lift people up. That's what we do, because that's what God teaches us. We lift people up always. So I think the answer is yes. Chris.
Leslie is next. My cousin Chris passed away recently. He was only 46. I bet he is happier now. Can you tell me anything about him now?
Um, the only thing I can tell you, and it's briefly, it's not from your loved ones in the spirit world. It comes directly from Grey Eagle, which he says, whoever this person is that you're asking about was tormented in this life. He did not have an easy life emotionally. He was tormented within himself. But boy, oh boy, he's learning and he's growing. When we go to heaven, there's this, or whatever you've got to call it, nirvana, whatever you want to call it. When we leave this earth, there's this feeling from so many people, oh, well, he's going to be happier now. Well, actually, it's not necessarily true, because when we leave this earth, we have a lot of stuff to deal with. We have a lot of stuff to deal with about ourselves, who we've been, how we've been, what we've been to other people. Have we been cruel? Have we been kind? We have lots of things to learn, and we have to face ourselves, and we have to look at, and I sort of cringe when I think what I'm going to have to face when I get there. I'm going to have to, because there are so many things, even now, I wish that I had done differently or better. I'm not a cruel person, but there was a time when I inadvertently said, and it just popped out of my mouth, but I realized immediately after I'd said it that I might as well have stuck a knife in my father's heart, because I said something to him which was not meant to be mean. It was not meant to be cruel, but out it came. And I'll never forget the look on his face. And if I could have taken it back, I would have taken it back. And people might say, oh, well, yeah, but you had good reason for that. You had good cause for that. Aren't we back to Trump again? All those people are saying mean things. You think you have a reason to be cruel? No, you don't. There is no reason. There is no excuse for being cruel. And when I think about that cruelty, inadvertent though it may have been towards my father, and still see his face after all these years. And I wish that I could have taken it back. Nobody's perfect. None of us are perfect here. None of us on this earth have a perfect record. But when we do go to the spirit world, we have a chance to see ourselves as we really are. And we have a chance to put those things right, hopefully, that we thought or did that perhaps we regret or we shouldn't have done, and so on. So I think, we have a chance to build. So I don't think we're necessarily we're overjoyed to see our loved ones, yes, but I don't think we're immediately happy with ourselves. And I'm sure there are lots of people who have passed into the spirit world who, think, oh gosh, if my behavior was awful, if I only could have been different, or so on. So we're learning about ourselves all the time. So those of you who have an idea of everybody sitting on a cloud being joyful and happy, not happening. We still have work to do, I'm afraid. Chris.
All right, the next comment is from Judith, but it reminds me of one thing you might also want to bring up, Rosemary, about the bottom brick exercise and if someone's feeling nervous to do it. But here's Judith's comment first. A consultation is on my quote must-do list soon. I have no idea why I have hesitated. Are your consultations on Zoom?
Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, Messenger, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. But yes, You know, years and years ago, it was the telephone, and you couldn't see people. So, but even so, we still got the connections. But it's so much nicer for me to be able to see people, and of course for them to see me too. So yes, that's however it's easy for you to do. And everyone has something like that. You can go on Messenger; it's free. Zoom is free. FaceTime. I mean, I call my friends in England all the time. We can be on the phone for 2 or 3 hours sometimes, and it's free. It's all free, which is wonderful. So, however you want to do it.
How about the bottom brick?
Oh, sorry. What was the question?
If a person feels really nervous about volunteering.
Well, okay. I offer the bottom brick exercise. I don't at this moment offer it in private sessions. I guess we could at some point, but right now we don't. But I think that if you want to do the bottom brick, part of the experience is daring to do it and to be seen and heard, because you're facing up to stuff, or you're hoping to face up to stuff. If you're feeling nervous, I promise that I'll be kind to you. And the people who are listening to you as we're doing the bottom brick, we get so many other people who come on who often the comments are, that's me, or oh, I had that experience, or I feel for you. We get such wonderful comments that other people's comments can help you so much and can boost you, because you don't feel alone, because other people are saying that they've gone through the same or similar experiences. So you don't feel alone. If you are nervous about it, I can understand that. Who wants to be, uh, out there, and bearing your soul, so to speak? But part of the bottom brick is actually that's what we do. But we do it. We bear your soul, but we do it gently and lovingly and carefully. And I always tell people, if you want to do the bottom brick, please understand this. The bottom brick is not about blaming. It's not about pointing the finger. If you feel, for instance, that you had a horrible childhood and your mother was awful, and I'm thinking about myself right now, but if you sort of you think about that, you're not going to blame anyone. We're going to be talking about how things were, why things affected you the way they did. We're going to get to the root of the problem, and we're not going to attach any blame or any pointing of fingers. So if it were me, for instance, doing the bottom brick, and if I were doing the bottom brick, you know what I mean, it would obviously, my mother would feature very strongly there, because she was the one who certainly was the first to make me feel less than. The first to put that seed of doubt that I was anything other than just a good girl. She was the first to criticize. She was the first to let's say, put that drop of poison in me that led to doubts and fears and nervousness, and so when you do the bottom brick, don't think that I haven't been there and done and had to deal with stuff that you've all dealt with, because I haven't. And knowing that, I am extra careful and extra gentle, and I help. And in every case that we've ever done, in every case where we've done the bottom brick, people have been absolutely healed. Maybe not fully, but on the way to being healed, because now they know what is causing their anxiety, for instance, or their worry, or their inability to behave supposedly normally. And I know all about that. So if you're nervous, I can only tell you it will be worth it in the end. But it's the only way we can do it right now. So it's, you've got to, sometimes we have to take a dive. Sometimes we have to jump into the abyss, believing and having faith that God will hold us up. That's what we have to do. But if you're not ready for it, that's okay.
All right, you're right at time, Rosemary.
All right, well, I think that's it then. I think that we should be back on Monday. I did warn you about this, as those of you are thinking, Monday, not Thursday. Yes, we'll be back on Monday morning with a healing session with a little bit of a difference, because I'm going to be talking about, how we can listen more, how we can be more attentive, how we can learn more, how we can connect more, because I think that, so many of us would be healed by just being able to do those one or two simple exercises that help us to connect. And that in itself is very, very healing. So that will be whenever it is on Monday, 11 o'clock, is that? Whatever it is, and you'll get the link if you're on my mailing list, you'll definitely get the link. If you're not on the mailing list, I suggest you get on the mailing list. How do you get on the mailing list? You can go to the website, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, I think it is.
That's your email.
That's my
RosemaryAltea.com will have a contact page. Yep.
I'm telling you, I'm no use at this. RosemaryAltea.com. Go into the website, and there's a little button you can click, and it says put me on the email list, and you click the button, and you're automatically, doesn't cost you anything. The newsletter doesn't cost you anything. So far, none of this stuff is costing you anything, which is great. So if you want to join or you want to be on the email, go to the website and find that little button, or email Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com and put in the subject line email list or newsletter list or whatever it is. I want to be on the list. Just say I want to be on the mailing list, and that's put mailing list. That's what you've got to put in the subject line, and we should put you on there. So until I see you again, which hopefully will be Monday for some of you, and remember, even if you can't make Monday, you're groaning and saying, but I work then, I'm part of it. You can always go to YouTube and find it. We don't, it'll be up there and you can go and find it. The only thing is you won't be able to participate, but you can find it, and you can, learn lots from it. So until I see you again, please let me say thank you first to Grey Eagle, because without him, what would we be doing? I'd like to say thanks to Chris, great facilitating. I'd like to say thank you to all of you out there who, thank you so much for joining me and supporting me in what we're trying to do here. And so until I see you all again, please everyone have a very, very blessed rest of today, and have a very blessed weekend, everybody.